Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. فيه آيات بينات مقام إبراهيم ومن دخله كان آمنا ولله على الناس حج البيت من استطاع إليه سبيلا ومن كفر فإن الله غني عن العالمين صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات اللهم صل على Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad wa Ajjal Farajam. Verse number 97 from Surah Al Imran is talking about the obligation of Hajj. For whoever is fulfilling the conditions of Hajj, he is supposed to go and perform that Hajj. And those they are not performing that Hajj, then Allah doesn't need anyone from the Alameen. He is not required. Even those they are performing, Allah is not required those acts. We are doing it for ourselves. So, for the acceptance or for every deed which is on our shoulders and we are performing, it has 3 stages. Number 1 is the performance of that deed. Number 2 is the acceptance, the conditions of the performance, the conditions for the acceptance. And third one, the conditions for the excellence. Even if I'm performing my salat, there's the first thing that I have to perform wuzu. My clothes should be clean, place, direction, time, everything. That is for the performance of salat. Then for the acceptance of salat is purity of my intention. If I am doing it for the sake of something else, then it is not going to be accepted. And if it is accepted, what is the excellence? If I am performing those nawafil before it or after it, that will make my salat towards excellence. For the Hajj, same requirements. The first is the condition that with regards of wealth, traveling conditions, security, safety, everything. If it is there, then it is obligatory on me to go and perform. The second thing is the acceptance. Yes, here I have to go under the shade, or I cannot go under the shade. I have to wear ihram from this place, and all these conditions. So my Hajj is going to be accepted, qabul. And then the Hajj is going to be maqbool. How? If I go to do the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah, then my Hajj will reach up to excellence. So that is important for us. For other conditions, maybe we are required something else to bring that action to excellence. But the ahadith of the Masumin alayhi salam, especially the 6th Imam, and he mentioned that if you would like to make your Hajj maqbool, means excellent, then go and do the ziyarat of my Jad after performing your Hajj. So your Hajj will be maqbool. It is performed, it is accepted. But reaching and taking it to the excellence, we are required to go to that. And the last very important hadith, which I have mentioned in my Urdu speech, I think 2 or 3 times, a person came and asked from Abu Abdullah, Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, that if there is a gathering on 9th of Zilhajj at Arafah, and there is a gathering on 9th of Zilhajj at Karbala, Allah is going to shower His blessing on which one first? So he replied, this is the answer from the 6th Imam. He replied that first Allah will look towards those they are gathered at Karbala, and then He will shower His mercy on those they are at the Arafah ground and the crowd at Arafah. So this is very important that we should understand the collaboration and the connecting of these acts and deeds with the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, and to make our deeds excellent towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, we all will be benefited, because I never perform Umrah nor Hajj. So these are the mujtahid for me. So I will learn. Yes, I teach for 20 years in class that how to perform Hajj as a pillar of Islam. But I never been there, so I will look towards their guidance as well. And last but not the least, please recite Surah Fatiha for the marhum Pyar Ali Noor Muhammad Somani. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجهم. One more thing, these flowers you received, these are from the brothers of our Iranian community, and they came up here to be thankful to your presence in the majalis for the Rahbar and for the Shohada, and you perform and you commemorate that Shahadat with your presence in the center. The administration, they arranged those majalis. So they came up to say thank you to the community of Shiane Hadri, that they were the active participant of those majalis. Inshallah, may Allah keep us together and united. For the reappearance of our Imam, please recite a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajman. Now I will invite brothers to come up and start their presentation for the Hajj. Please recite a salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I wanted to thank Brother Shahzan for asking us to share our insights or share our experience of Hajj. Nisar is my brother, actually. So I've known him since I was 10. And
I'm the good looking.
and when he went to Hajj before I did 2 years ago, and I went to Hajj last year. And I was inspired by his experience and his wife Safinaz's experience. And it was one of the main reasons why I decided to go. You know, what we want to share today is essentially our experience and how we went in before Hajj and maybe how we came out after Hajj. What are the challenges that we faced during the Hajj, whether they were logistical, whether they were spiritual, and after, and how maybe I hope, inshallah, that we're better people for having done so. And being able to share this with you, alhamdulillah, when I was preparing this presentation, it brought me back. And that was one of the gifts, and what Maulana said today in terms of if I want my Hajj to be makbul, I think, right? Inshallah, I pray to be able to go for ziyarat of Abu Abdullah, inshallah. May Allah give us all of this tawfiq and give us the chance to go for those who haven't been. Now that I think back to going for Hajj, I feel like I won the lottery. And you know, they say where you go because you've been invited. So Allah sends you His invitation, and when you get that invitation, you feel like, oh my God, I've been seen. You know, I think it's the first time I was sharing this with Nisar. I think it was the first time in my life where I actually felt seen. But Allah sees me all the time. It's I don't see that. And this invitation came at a very, it comes when it's supposed to. For being here, and essentially is to reconnect with your creator. We do everything in life to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything that we do essentially is to go back to Him. We came from Him, He created us, but at the end of the day, we're going back to him, right? So we want to maybe start with some practical, for those who have questions, how did you go? How was it hard? How were the organization? I'll let maybe Brother Nisar start with that, just in terms to get you to appease some of your worries, if you do have some worries, and maybe if you have any questions. And in the meantime, if you do have some questions, please don't hesitate to raise your hand. We can take the questions as we go to be more interactive. But maybe we'll start with the how we organize ourselves to go to Hajj, if I can call it that. I'll jump right into that. Nish, you want to take that?
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Before I start, I would just like to take a personal moment, 2 seconds, to thank our brothers and sisters, Iranian brothers and sisters, for your courage, your sacrifice, and your strength. You are fighting for Islam at this time, and we are grateful for what you are doing for us and for all of the Ummah. So the way we started my wife and I started our Hajj process is, and she brings this better part out of me, is that you do a niyat first, obviously. You put the niyat that you want to perform Hajj. When it's going to happen, you don't put a timeline of it, but you put your niyat that you want to perform a Hajj. After having done that niyat, you pray. You pray and you beg Allah for that invitation. As my brother said, you wait for that invitation. You don't know if it's going to come or not, but you put sincere passion into that prayer, and you just say, I hope I am worthy of your invitation. And then when that invitation comes, recognize it, because it's not going to come by a card in the mail or a text message or an email. But when the invitation comes, you must recognize that invitation. And then as human beings, we sometimes have the bad habit of putting barriers down. Oh, it's come, or this, but maybe not this year. So when the invitation comes, don't put any barriers. And I speak from my own experience. I had a barrier for 30 seconds when that invitation came, and I asked for forgiveness, and I immediately jumped on it, hoping that the invitation was going to still be there. So that's the start of it. After that, for any of you who have performed ziyarat of our imams in Iraq or even Iran, you know that we're very fortunate that there are groups, there are travel agencies, it's very easy to perform ziyarat, especially in Iraq. There are so many groups out there that handle everything for you. The reality is, when it comes to Hajj, Umrah also, but when it comes to Hajj specifically, there are very limited amount of Shia groups that do Hajj on the western side of the world, in Europe, Canada, United States, and especially since COVID. Because since COVID, the government there, basically, for them, Hajj is a business. So they took the opportunity to put into place systems, automated systems, computerized systems called Nusuk, to facilitate, they communicate that it's to facilitate the Hajj process, the process of getting a visa, the process of, buying a package and stuff like that. But those packages and stuff are honestly not for Shias, for us, the followers of the Ahlul Bayt. It's general Ummah. So even though it's easy in the system, the way they show it to you, it's sold like a travel package. So we were very fortunate, with the hard work of my wife, that we were able to find a group, an organization out of United States that took on the new system and found a way to simplify it and handle the entire logistics for you with the buying of the package. But the best part was that it included an alim, a spiritual leader, a Shia spiritual leader, that made sure that you were brought, you were physically, logistically taken care of, but at the same time, you were spiritually taken care of. So if any of you are planning, and inshallah you are planning to perform Hajj, yes, you can do it through the Nusuk system that Saudi Arabia has, but I highly recommend that you do the research of finding a group that you're comfortable with that can handle all the logistics and all the spiritual requirements that come with Hajj. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, no. So the group that we use is Caravan 72, 72 for, of course, exactly. And so Maulana Beg, who was the organizer from, I think it was from Texas,
Yeah, it used to.
right? He used to be. Um, so he was familiar with the whole system, and he's been there. He's been doing this for about 22 years. So Alhamdulillah, having his experience really, really helped, because when you go to, when you've never been, first of all, to going to an Arab country, and they're very strict. They, dealing with the officials, dealing with the police there or anything like that, they're quite harsh, right? So it's important to have somebody who knows the system and who's going to guide you. But most of all, having all of these logistics taken care of allows you to actually look into your spiritual side. So, do all of your ahkamat, like you do all of your, the wajibats, the really connecting with why you're there. Because there's so many distractions, and it's so easy to get distracted during Hajj with, where am I going? What's going to happen? He took care of everything. And I asked him if I can sort of plug his website here. So if ever you guys are thinking about going, please think of him. He was excellent. And if he was one of the main reasons, and we pray for his well-being, and Allah give him many more chances to take us. But he really changed our experience of Hajj. Not only that, but he took us for when we had time between I think before, so between Umrah Tamattu and Hajj, we had a couple of days. We went to visit other sites. We did majalises, and he explained everything, which was very important. There's only so much you can read on your own, but when you have somebody who guides you, that was really important. So we wanted to make sure that you guys at least know that if you're planning on going for Hajj, please do consider going in and organize, so that all of the difficulties in terms of the logistics can be taken care of, right? We wanted to also touch a bit about the spiritual preparation for going for Hajj. I'm only going to speak with regards to myself, but it required, a lot just in terms of preparing yourself. Why am I going for Hajj? What do I want to get out of Hajj? What is it that I want to change? I had to ask myself a lot of big questions. Do I want to come back and be the same person after Hajj? What am I committing to? And that required me to actually have a truthful conversation. I mean, God knows everything, but for me to own up to, okay, what am I committing to, right? Just the part of asking for forgiveness before you go for Hajj. It's one of the, the things that you have to do if you have strained relationships with family members, with your parents, or with anybody. You ask for forgiveness before, you go for Hajj. That it starts there, breaking down the ego. It's really realizing at the end of the day, you're gonna go meet your Creator, or at least be in His presence. Go with an easy and light heart. So all of these things that we had to prepare for, and sometimes I was like, oh my God, am I even gonna be able to do this? Like all of this, it was quite daunting. But you got to remember, if you've been called, because we applied a year before, right? And we got the news, like we applied in June, we got the news in December that we have, and there was only 11,000 visas given across North America for the US and Canada. In Canada, there's only 3,000, right? So Monada Beg held 6 seminars, and he prepares you. Like we had 6 mandatory Zoom, 1.5 Zoom calls where he goes through all the fiqh, he goes through all of the rules, and he tells you what you must know, what you need to remember, you know, and even in terms of the logistics, like what you need to take, what's important. There was the physical preparation. So there was a part in the Hajj where you have to walk to the Jamarat. That's where you stone the big shaitans or the small and the medium shaitan. And it's a quite a walk, right? In the heat. It's about 8 miles, and you do that 3 times. Well, I don't think I've ever walked 8 miles before, at least not in the last 30 years. And so I had to prepare for that. And you're walking in 50-degree heat. So there's this spiritual preparation, there's this physical preparation that you have to do as well. So to my brothers and sisters, the younger ones, do it when you are able and young, right? It's definitely a physical experience. But I also want to encourage, and Nishu and I were also talking about this, we don't want to discourage anybody from going. When I told my parents I was going for Hajj, they said, Shakir, when we went to Hajj the first time, it was 60 years ago, we had nowhere to stay. We had to ask people there if they can board us. We had to buy pots and pans to cook. We had to buy a mattress there. We had to buy lanterns. This was 60 years ago. We have none of these challenges. You know what our biggest challenges was for me, honestly? Why is the bus late? I have to wait. Oh my God, why isn't this food as good as, and that's the things. And then you're like, you put things into perspective and you're like, you know what? Honestly, Hajj is not as hard as people make it to be, because they've done everything to make it accessible. And they, like even with Maulana Beg, like we stayed in really good hotels. We had good food. We had good transportation. Everything that he could make easy on us, he did. The only parts were the wajibat parts where you have to walk outside, where you have to do the tawaf, where you have to do, even the sa'i now is indoors. When you walk from Safa to Marwa, which is one of the ahkamats that you have to do, it's indoors. It's in an AC. So you see, it's really not that hard if you're able to. God, inshallah, Allah gives you the ability to go, and for all of us and those who haven't been especially. So we really don't want to discourage you guys. We want to encourage you to go, and it is at least a chance in a lifetime that you get.
And just to add on that, because Maulana mentioned it, if you have had the privilege and honor of doing the Arba'in walk, Hajj is going to be totally physically easier for you. Physically, I'm saying. The Arba'in walk, for the love for Imam Hussein, that walk going from Najaf to Karbala, the walk of the physical walking that's required for Hajj over the 3.5 days is only 1/3 of the walk from Najaf. So it's obviously doable. It's physically, I was 52 when I went, and I have knee problems and I have back problems, and Allah gave me the strength to not make up excuses. For many, many years when I was young, in my 30s, I made excuses. Oh no, it's too much, I can't do that. And today, looking back, as brother was saying, spirituality, I felt guilty. When the time came for my invitation to come, I was full of so much guilt. He felt seen, I felt guilty that I made so many excuses. And and we all make excuses in life. But when the invitation came, I didn't feel anything. We went in Hajj 2 years ago. It was the hottest summer that Saudi Arabia had. Temperatures with the humidity was over 60 degrees. And people feel it. Yes, it was hot for me. But I was so in the zone, as I can say it, that I didn't feel it. It's he takes away the aches and pains, and and you just concentrate on it. That would be my spiritual connection at that time. That we make up excuses all the time for anything, but when we are there, we are his guest. He'll take care of us, and whatever aches and pains or whatever barriers we put up for whatever reason, they all disappear, they all melt away, and you have the opportunity to just concentrate on why you're there.
I wanted to also share maybe on the day of Arafat, like spending that afternoon there and reciting Imam Hussein's Dua Arafat. That it's heartwarming, and it's hard to explain. You're told that on that afternoon, when you're standing on those plains, you ask God. God will forgive all of your sins. You come back, renewed, and you're standing there. Essentially, you bear yourself to God, and you say, I'm here with all of my sins, with all of my shortcomings, and today I'm here because you've called me, and I'm hoping that you will forgive me. And they tell you, right? You have to believe that you're there, and God will, inshallah, forgive your sins and make you whole. And that alone, and that when I was talking about being seen, in a sea of 2 million people were there, you feel that connection. Everybody's there, but you feel that connection, and you repent, and you're like, okay, there's something there. The love that we feel for Imam Hussein, the love we feel for Ahlul Bayt, it comes, we're lucky to feel that. But the connection that you feel to God, that is priceless. Like I wanted to share a bit about so coming back, I have to say I think about God a lot more, but in a meaningful way. Whenever I do stuff, I'm like, oh, because of what I've gotten, what am I going to, can I continue doing this? Am I perfect? Absolutely not. And, they say for the first 6 months, the Hajj stays with you, and then you start to sort of come back into your whole habits, right? And that's human beings, that's human nature. And then we get this opportunity to do this. And as I'm looking at my pictures and I'm trying to remember what I did, and it kind of renews my commitment to, Shakir, remember those promises that you made before going? What happened to those, right? So when we go for Hajj, when we go for Ziyarat, when we go for, visit our Masumins, it's important, and that, just like Maulana said, it's important to renew that connection. So this is what it does. It renews your connection, and it actually reminds you of your purpose. Why are you here? Why are we here if it's not to get to know God and to go back to Him? And Hajj was that. For me, that was the experience. It reminded me why I'm here and what I need to do, and what kind of, maybe at least ask myself those questions. Well, what kind of person do you want to be? Do you want to continue? Do you want to, we get our values from our family, we get our values from our community, but we rarely ask ourselves, what value do I want to instill or choose to be? So for me, Hajj, that's what it was. It was really a spiritual connection with God. It was I feel grateful to have been able to do that, and to go, and to be reminded that I didn't feel seen because I didn't see Him, but He's always been there, and every step of the way. So we didn't go through, the wearing of the ihram, going for the tawaf, doing the sa'i, when we go to Jamarat, we spend, those are all practical stuff that you will get to know and to learn. But each of those parts that we did have a fundamental effect on you. Like just wearing the ihram, everybody is the same, whether you're white, you're black, you're rich, you're tall. It was incredible to see people of all walks of life, people who speak completely different languages, do the same thing, say the same thing. it was quite powerful, you know. And that alone, and you're like, okay, you know what, if only we were more united. If only we understood the importance of being, united, we could do so much more, you know. So for us, well, for me, we talked a bit about the spiritual preparation, the physical, the practical is important. It's and you shouldn't neglect that as well. I mean, I remember Sister Safina's sent me her list of all of the stuff that she did, and she was quite well organized. Thank you. Um, and you follow that, and you actually, you become a help to other people. I got to know these brothers, so I went alone. I wasn't, but I got to know these people who I share this experience with. We still talk, we still message each other, and that shared experience is invaluable, and you will never get that with anybody. Nobody will understand except the people that were there with you. I fainted, they picked me up. Somebody was sick, we were taking care of each other, and that also shows you what Hajj is about, right? So it's so the practical preparation is very important. um, I wanted to share this with you. I'm not going to read it all, but Molana Beg has sent us this before we're going for Hajj. He goes, besides all of the stuff that you're going to pack, this is what you need. He goes, you need a spirit full of hope, a mind full of conviction, eyes that are watchful, ears that are attentive, hands that are helpful, feet that are firm, a bag full of trust, a bundle of wishes, a desire to fall in love with Allah, a strong yearning to meet the Imam, because Imam Mahdi was there. He's there, right? So a heart seeking repentance, a tongue seeking forgiveness, a mind seeking understanding, a nafs seeking obedience, a soul seeking its maker, a radiant smile, a cheerful spirit, a love for truth, a care for others, and a whole lot of shukr. And with that, do you have any closing?
And that list is actually very important. If there's any list that's important other than your electrolytes and your water and your power bars and everything, that list is very important. And the reason why I say that specifically for myself is that the physical environment, the number of people, for those who have gone to Umrah, you understand that, 150,000, 200,000 people are doing the stuff at the same time with you, the tawaf, are doing it with you. And your patience and your anger will be tested, because we are taught that your Umrah or your Hajj is not accepted if you do it with anger. If you push someone, if you pull, you kick someone, you elbow someone, that's it. Your Hajj is, and spiritual leaders will joke saying, okay, you owe this many sheep or this many cows, and and kafaras, but the reality is the entire process. One of the things Maulana Beg taught, the entire physical process has a meaning behind it. The tawaf, the say, all the physical aspects that you are doing, there's a meaning behind it between you and Allah. And basically the way he summarized it is that in each process, especially for the Hajj part where you're going to Arafat and Mina, Allah is pushing you away to give you the opportunity to come back to it. He pushes you away, you're leaving his house, and then he brings you back to him. And that action, that physical action, is to strengthen your spirituality in your heart with him. So that physically you are leaving, and that walk back, the walk to Jamara, the physical part of it gives you the opportunity just to connect with him. Because when you're walking, unlike Arba'in walk, the people around you are only thinking about themselves. There are no people handing you water. There's nobody giving you massages. There's nobody telling you to come sit here. You are on your own walking. You may be in a group, but you are walking. So the only way to, calm the physical pain, the blisters or the heat or just the distance, because honestly, it's a straight walk. When you're going to the devil, it's actually, and you can see the building, like as it grows, but it plays mind games on you. So it gives you the opportunity. He gives you the opportunity to just connect with him. He tells, in my case, he tells you, my nickname is Nishu. He says, Nishu, let's talk. And you're talking to him, and your mind wanders everywhere, and you're asking me all these questions. And sometimes you take anger out on him, say, well, why did I have to go through this in my childhood in your mind? But it gives you the opportunity to open your heart up to him like you have never opened up your heart. When we're in our salat and we do our du'as and stuff like that, the opening that happens there is totally different, because you have nothing but to do is just to walk, and the only way you can get through is to just connect with it. So those physical action we were taught, the physical action, there's always reasons behind it, So that for me was my spiritual connection at that time. It was, how I connected, and I got the opportunity to let a lot of feelings over the years just come out, where it's just me and him.
And when we're doing that walk to the Jamarat, there comes a point where like I can't take an next trip. There's no way I can take. I'm like, and then you're like, okay, I'll just go up to there. And then you remember, you're like, oh, you know what? You can ask for help. Your imam is here. And I am shameful to say that was the first time I physically out loud called out on him and said, because it was the last walk. So, we do we walked to the Jamarat, those 8 miles, like 3 times. And this was the last time. And, they have wheelchair. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to call out to my mom and say, listen, I need you to give me the strength to just do this last part. After that, that's fine. Because after that, I'm done. I just need, and I had gotten sick. I had fever that day, and I had stomach pain. And I'm like, give me 4 hours. And he showed up for me. He really, really did. I don't know how I finished it, but at the end of the day, it kind of strengthened my belief. And we talk about Imam Mahdi being here. He's here, right? But how many times do we actually get, or do we recognize that he helped us? And to me, that was one of my most profound experiences, where like I called and he answered, and it was like right there when I needed it the most, right? So I'll just end with, I hope I was able to at least convey the how much it meant to me to go for Hajj. And it's a personal experience. It's between you and your creator. It's between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're meant to go, if you want to go, you ask, and he will make it happen at the end of the day. It's really between you and him. And I hope I've given you the desire to maybe contemplate going if you haven't. And if you want to, and if you want to ask us any questions, like more practical questions that we may not have addressed, please feel free to reach out to us. The presentation is also available, where it has more details if you want to know exactly what is done on which day. There's a slide where we hold on, let me just go back. Where was it? Yeah. Here, when we get to Medina, what happens? When we first went to Medina and then we went to Mecca. Medina is quiet, right? Medina is shant. It's cool, right? And then for those of you who've been there, Medina is peaceful. Mecca is vibrant. It's full of energy, and you see the difference. You can definitely see the difference. I loved Medina. I really, really do. Just going to pray in the Rasulullah's mosque, it was just phenomenal. But Mecca at the same time, it was, I don't know how to explain it, but it's
Makkah doesn't sleep. So if you want to physically understand it, Medina is a suburb of Montreal. Makkah is a 24-hour city. So in Medina at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, the mosque is quiet. People are in their hotels. The restaurants even close out. There's not even like a lot of restaurants. You know, you have some fast food and you have the restaurants in the hotel and stuff, but it's quiet. But the mosque is open 24 hours, and you have the opportunity of just going and sitting and, you know, doing your ziyarats and just going to Janatul Baqi on your own, just walking, you know, just out the outskirts and just being there. And no one will help. Makkah, you will be surrounded constantly by people. So it's the difference between the two.
Thank you, everyone. And anything else? We're good?
If I can just give you some brotherly advice to my younger brothers and sisters out there, we mentioned it before. Hajj is wajibat if you're able to do it physically and financially, obviously. It is a financial investment in your spirit, in your soul. Like Maulana said, God has made this, Allah has made this a wajibat, but He doesn't need it. You're not doing Him a favor, you're doing yourself a favor. So when you're at this time in your life where you're either single or newly married, no kids yet, you have the physical and financial ability to do these things. You may have to save up a little bit. So if I can give you any brotherly advice, you know, you're looking at retirement, you're looking to buy your first home, your condominium and stuff. All of that will happen. All of that will happen. Prioritize this. Prioritize this, and I assure you, I promise you, mark my words, that the rest of it will open up so fast because you prioritized what was wajib. One of the other notes I forgot to mention before is for Hajj, to perform your Hajj, you have to pay khums. Your khums has to be up to date. And that is one thing, I speak for myself, there is one thing that we forget the importance of is khums. You know, we take vacations, we do renovations, you know. We fear more Revenue Canada and Revenue Quebec, and we pay our taxes to make sure we don't get audited. But the real revenue, the real person, the real being we should be worried about is the one we're like, yeah, you know. But when the day of judgment comes, when we have to answer to Him, you know, when He audits, that's an audit you're not going to get out of. So from my experience, is take it seriously. You know, there are apps out there to help us calculate it. Consider your khums the tax you should be paying first, but make it during tax time. So for you to perform Hajj, just make sure that responsibility is also up to date, because those are one of the things the spiritual leader, the Maulana, whoever, which group you go with, will tell you in your seminars, in preparation. Make sure your khums are paid on time, because your Hajj is only not accepted, but you can only perform Hajj if to make sure that your khums is paid. You know, at least, and they will guide you. They'll tell you, okay, well, pay for this year, or, they won't come and tell you for the last 10 years, but they will guide you spiritually on what you should do to just make sure that you can perform your Hajj. But if you're planning, inshallah, to perform Hajj in the next year, 2 years, or 3 years, I'm giving you the information now so that you can prepare yourself from now. That's the biggest thing. If I can give you my little last minute, what I got out of it, I'm a very practical person. I'm business oriented. So, I like to, vacations, investments, After I performed Hajj, I felt like a weight was taken off me. Not because I performed my wajib Hajj, but a spiritual and an emotional weight that now I can do things. I can invest. I can go on vacation. All obviously halal, proper things, but I can do things knowing that I'm not sacrificing or putting aside what was meant to be my wajibat. You know, I can enjoy life because Islam teaches us to enjoy the physical life too without sacrificing our spiritual life and without sacrificing the real life that's going to come afterwards. But nowhere does it say that we need to sacrifice. But that weight that comes off, that feeling, knowing that you've performed your responsibility, for me that was a big thing. That, you know, now I can meet my maker knowing that this is done. So that's one of the things that, for personally, that was the result of it, you know. So it's so basically to say, don't make excuses. Don't make excuses. You know, don't let it come to. I pray for all of you to perform it if you're able to, but don't make the excuses I used to make, because there's no reason for making excuses.
Any questions? Wow, made it that easy for you guys? From either side. No.
Can registration alone or need the groups for the Hajj?
Sorry?
For the registration, the first registration, we can registration alone or need group of registration?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Not for the Umrah, for the Hajj.
No, but we went with a group. Yeah, we went.
You can register with the group. So like the caravan 72 that we registered, there was people from all over North America that registered with that group. So you register, and then that the organizer takes care of filing for asking for the visas. You know, whenever Nusuk opens their apps, and you send him the money, and it's all in escrow. Like, you don't, even if you don't get the visa, he gives you back, you know, your money. You don't have to worry about it. He takes care of everything in terms of buying the package, whether it's the hotel, it's the visa, it's the transport, it's the airplane.
Arrangement, everything.
Yeah.
So the reason why we recommend, you can do it on your own. We can do it on. But the reason why we recommend going with a group, specifically obviously a Shia group, is because when you arrive there, if you've done it on your own and you've bought the package on your own, you are going to be placed with a group that Nusuk places you with. And you will not get the spiritual guidance that we get. Understand? Now, we were fortunate because we went with this group. And obviously they have connections there with local Saudi businessmen and stuff. That's why they give you the impression that, because it's a lottery. Hajj is a lottery. You're putting your name in, but like brother said, in Canada there was only 11,000 visas, but there were over 100,000 applications for Canada. So by being a part of this group, in our case, we were in a tent in Arafat, and the tent was organized that it was full of Iranian brothers, Lebanese brothers, Iraqi brothers, Pakistani Shia brothers, our group, you know. So the entire experience was mind-blowing, you know. It was a Shia experience, and the guidance. You know, we had 5 alims who were reciting in each of their language. We had Noah Khan, we had Matak, you know. We had Ziyarat Imam Hussein. You know, we had all the, and very honest, I'll be very honest with you. You know, some of the doors are open, it's air conditioning. You would have our Sunni brothers walk in and look and give you bad looks. You didn't care because the group you were in were all your brothers. You know, we get that feeling when we go to Ziyarat in Iraq or Iran, and we take it for granted because we are surrounded by our brothers and sisters. Here we are not, you know, here we are not. And our Iranian brothers understand that more coming from, so having that experience, that's why we recommend you go through a group. And there are more and more. We are saying, because this is the group that we went, this is the Maulana we went. But for those who know Maulana Sheikh Healy, Sheikh Healy has a group. He's started the last 3 or 4 years. He has a group, and he only specializes for people, individuals European, US, Canada. So, you know, and he does the same, and they handle the whole thing. Another thing is, if you are dual citizenship, if you are Canadian Pakistani, Canadian African, Canadian India, if you have both passports, you can go with your other passport. Those countries don't follow nusuk. They still follow the old way of doing it, which is the Hajj committees of that country basically allocate. So, you know, you can go through them. The only difference is that the packages that they have are catered to the groups from that country. So you may not be in an air-conditioned tent. You may not be in an air-conditioned bus. You may be, your hotel may be further away from the haram, you know. But obviously it may be half the cost or 1/3 of the cost. So those are the things you have to take into account. What is better for you? What is, you know, what do you want out of it? But the experience of being in a Shia group is very, was for us, for me, was very important. For me and my wife was very, because you had someone there to make sure, who is constantly reminding you, make sure you do it this way, make sure you do it that way, who spoke your language, obviously. He spoke English, Urdu, you know, Farsi. I mean, so they're speaking to you in your language just to make sure that you understand everything, you know. So
Another question, sorry. For the approximately, how much does it cost for these years? It's important.
you want the honest answer? So the packages in Nusuk for North Americans, because it's a business for them, right? It's the hotels and everything there are owned by the royal families, right? So it's a business for them. We know that, right? So it can range anywhere between 12,000 US to 25, 30,000. This package at the time that when we went 2 years ago was 16,000 US. But actually it also includes airfare. The Nusuk packages include airfare with Saudia Airlines. It's a part of their gimmick. We had to fly to Washington, DC. So my flight from here to Washington I had to pay for, but we had to fly out of Washington, DC. And then from Washington, DC,
After that, join the group.
yeah, and then coming back, it's the same thing, right? So it
But
includes
it changed, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have to. The
Yeah,
year after.
yeah. So even I would have had the option of paying for that Nusuk package and not using that flight and booking ourselves, you know. But if you have a specific budget, at least you know that your air package is also in there. And it's possible that they don't use Saudia, they could use Turkish Airlines, but you won't know until a few weeks before.
Okay. I'm sorry for one question.
Please.
How long does it take for the 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
2 weeks.
You can do it in 9 days. Like the shortest period to do everything was
No, for all the journey, because
Yeah, the whole
that's a need for the getting that.
yeah, the whole journey you can do it in the minimum that you need is 10 days. Sorry, it's
10 days.
But
From
in 9
the
days,
start from
from the
here.
start from Medina, you spend 2 days in Medina, then you go to Makkah, and then you have your Umrah, and then you have your Hajj. All of that can be done in 10 days for sure.
10 days.
But yeah, but typically other people go, they stay 2-3 days later. But if you want to do the essential one, you can do it within 2 weeks.
That means
The
15
ideal,
days.
the ideal is 2 weeks.
2
Because they
weeks.
place it in 2 weeks, you know, the vacation periods and stuff, like, you know, people can take 2 weeks. So the ideal is 2 weeks to give you that time to physically rest between your Umrah and the Hajj itself. So, you know, but it's about 2 weeks. So if you're working here and you need to take vacation, you calculate about 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
One last question, if I can make, towards Maulana Hassan. It's a question regarding the legitimacy of going to Hajj many times or Umrah. We know, for example, that supporting countries or supporting like a cause that are oppressing our brothers and sisters is haram. So if, for example, I did my Hajj once, So what's the opinion of our Maraji and ulamas if to go to Umrah again and again towards the countries that are supporting oppression?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I haven't heard about the written fatwa, but obviously, logically, if we look towards spending money over there and strengthening them by providing our wealth, even going to Dubai, as I mentioned in my Urdu speech, that or in my khutbah, that if you are going there just for rest, enjoying, spending money over there, buying, eating food, we are making them strong. So we should avoid. But as I said, that if even if you are not going for a wajib umrah and you are going over there just to perform and try to spend minimum. Don't try to buy, don't try to go bazaar and shopping malls here and there. Try to spend minimum amount of money, not to strengthen their hands.
Any questions from the ladies side?